nothing's working out because the two people responsible for putting me in this situation are getting away with everything freaking scot-free.
A woman has just went viral for sharing a horror story where she says her roommate left her with $31,000 of back rent. She said the man is a squatter. We gotta see what's going on.
Honestly, at first I didn't even want to say anything, but like I have to, because if I don't, I'm going to actually lose my marbles at this point, because
What happened?
I lived with a squatter for a year and didn't know it. I will definitely say, as someone moving to New York, and I'm not even going to put this on New Yorkers, because you know what? This person was not from New York. And people love to talk shit about people from New York and be like, oh my God, everybody's a scammer. That's not true. This person was not from New York. I don't think anyone in New York would ever scam someone for a year out of rent money. I don't think they would ever do that. Because they know what is sacred, and what is sacred is rent money.
I'm so confused. It says here, New Yorkers are not the problem. I'm convinced people move here to just live the fast life and not care who they harm in the process. $31,000 of back rent is crazy. Somebody in the comments said, this is super common, sadly. Are y'all okay? This what y'all got going on? Oh no.
So let me set this up for you. Before moving to New York, I lived in Charlotte. And Charlotte is where I met this man. Okay. We were running in the same circles. We would like end up at brunches together, end up in different areas where we would just like connect and talk. And I just want to start with, he seemed like a genuinely nice person. Now, I don't know. I think like things happen when people move, but I can just tell you from like why I decided to move in with this person is because he seemed like a genuinely nice person. He seemed responsible. We share a sun sign, and I'm an astrology girly, and like Capricorns usually get their shit done. So never really would have even thought of this being a thing. And he has like 9 planets in Capricorn, so I really don't know why he's doing this, but karma comes quick, okay?
Look, what do all these signs got to do with this person being trustworthy or not? That's why I got to pray to Jesus about mine. Like, Lord, give me discernment.
Anyways, the point is, he seemed like a really good person. Like, genuinely, we would have conversations. At the time, he was looking for a job because he had just like left one, which hindsight is 2020, baby. But like,
red flag. I'm sorry. What happened to the job? Okay.
Talk about our goals, our careers, our aspirations, what we wanted to do. So, I mean, he just seemed like a good person. He had a husband. Like it seemed very stable. He seemed very stable. He also seemed very calm, very reserved. Like I'm a loud girl. I'm a little rowdy, but I'm not always rowdy. And he wasn't giving rowdy, chaotic. He was giving like reserved, responsible, like I get my shit done energy. Like that is important to remember.
I'm just confused. She said he had a husband. So I'm like, was he trying to move the husband in? Where was the husband? And why aren't they, as a married couple, making whatever they got going on work? That's another red flag. I'm sorry. What is going on? This is very interesting.
He always gives, I get my shit done energy. I am someone to, aspire to be. And I think that's a big part of his own character makeup in his mind. Not to psychoanalyze anyone, but I think like that's important to him as his public image, which interesting. So I initially did not plan on moving up here to New York with him. I was already talking to someone else that I knew from college, and we were planning on going to LA. LA was not working. It just like something in the universe was like, no, not LA. So I remember we came together and we were like, you know what, let's shoot for New York. They had already lived here before. They wanted to move back to New York. So we're like, okay, cool. Let's do it. So we find a 2-bedroom and like 3 bedrooms, but it just so happens like we found a 3-bedroom that was amazing. And we were like, okay, maybe we can find another roommate. Okay. Turns out the squatter, we'll just go with his name being, we're going to go with Henry. Henry just gives an irritating ass man. So Henry decided that he was actually going to go to New York too because he applied and he got an in with a position on Broadway for a really, really popular show that has been on Broadway forever, that everyone knows, everyone comes here to see. So he got a really great opportunity and he needed to be there. And it was also at the same time that we needed to go. So it was giving like divine timing. And we're like, okay, let's do it. Let's make this happen.
So he ended up on Broadway? Like, what is this? And who is this Henry? Why was he on Broadway? Why was he so talented? Why did he not live with his husband? Why he didn't have no job when y'all first met? Why was he in between jobs? It's just a lot going on. This is one of the most interesting stories I've heard in a while. Symone, trying to keep you out of debt. Hit subscribe.
you don't know much about like moving to New York or living in New York, a lot of rental places, especially market rate, which is what we were in, they require 40 times the monthly rent for everyone included. That's what the income needs to be, 40 times the monthly rent.
40 or 4? 4T, like 40 times the monthly rent. Is that how it works in New York? I almost threw up. No way. She had to mean 4 times. Absolutely not. All the New Yorkers, please let me know. I don't know. But time to pack it up. 4 times the rent up front. You can keep it.
And seeing as how I had just quit my job and
she just quit her job too.
The other roommate, she did not have like that. Like she just got a new job, but it wasn't making that. And he has a job, obviously on Broadway, which pays well, but not 40 times the monthly rent well. We needed to get a guarantor because combined, we did not make that for what the cost of the place was.
What is a guarantor? She got me about to look up words. Hold up. What is a guarantor? It says a guarantor is a person or entity that promises to pay another party's debt if the party is unable to do so. So like a cosigner? Guarantors are often used in lending or renting situations. A guarantor may be responsible for unpaid rent, property damages, or other costs. I wouldn't want to be nothing like that for nobody else. I don't like co-signing. So now my question is, random people just sign up to be a guarantor for people? I'm trying to understand why that would benefit someone. Somebody who's good at this and understands all this lingo and how that works, please comment down below and educate me and the people trying to watch this video.
I say this was in 2022 when we first started this. It was $3,600, $3,625 for a 3-bedroom. And that, I know that sounds like a large number, but for New York standard and for the placement of where we are, yeah, it's really fucking good. So we started looking. Obviously, I wasn't asking my parents being a guarantor because I already knew they were going to say no, because absolutely not. And good for them. Her parents said no. I don't even think he asked his parents, whatever, but he said they said no. And we were like, okay, let's just do a guarantor company. They gave us options from the leasing office. They were like, this is what you can do. So we go and we apply. Now, let me just also preface, getting this apartment was a miracle in itself. Like I always say, I manifested the hell out of this apartment because the placement is great. The floor to ceiling windows, like everything is amazing. The balcony, all of this. It was a miracle that we got it because we first got denied. And then for some reason, the tolls turned and they were like, actually, never mind.
Look, I'm making that face because this sounds like a horror story. And she's like, we manifested this. Ma'am, are we listening to the same story? Because this don't sound like nothing has been going the way you wanted. You just said somebody got over on you for $31,000 and you talking about y'all manifested some stuff? Return to sender. And I'm sorry, but look, she's smiling about it. What do you want me to do? Like she seems happy whenever she's reminiscing on this, but this just doesn't sound good to me. I mean, just look at the title. It's right there for us to see. How my squatter roommate ghosted me with his $31,000 back rent in NYC. She is smiling, talk about some manifestation. Maybe it's me.
The tolls turned and they were like, actually, never mind. Come and move in with us. So it was just a lot of things aligning to feel like these are the right decisions. And I feel like people always say, like, you know, it's right when it just all falls into place. And it really was all falling into place. So nothing alluded to, you know, we would end up where we are right now.
Didn't she say she got denied for it? And then she said it manifested itself and everything just fell into place. It was like, I don't know, but maybe that first denial was the sign. I usually try to see stuff from the positive side, but I just see all the red flags here. And she's just so happy. I want to be happy with her, but man.
Until we got to the guarantor situation. And the guarantor situation is probably, this is the part where I'm like, okay, this is where I hear the words ringing in my head every single time now that I know what I know now and where I am now. Thinking back, it's one of my biggest regrets is not actually listening to what they said and just being excited for what I could do.
That sounds like this whole story so far is a bunch of signs and just being excited. And I'm almost scared what she's going to say next.
We all applied for the guarantor. We have to make sure that everyone applies. You submit all of our, you know, like social, you submit your W-2s, bank statements, whatever. And then they go and they assess it. So we wait a little bit after submitting all the information to the company and we get an email back and they're like, we are not approving you for this lease. And like gutted, heart-wrenching, gutted. And I was just like, what? Like, I don't understand why. So me and my other roommate, we'll call her Marnie. Marnie and we were talking and we were like, I don't understand. Like, I was thinking it was me because I was like, I get it. Like, I know in college I was doing some crazy shit. And that's something to also remember. At this point in time, like, yes, we've been out of college for a while, but I mean, we don't come from money. So a lot of people did have to take out loans. A lot of people did have to take out credit cards and all kinds of things to make sure that you could get through. So
Okay.
I'm always coming from the place of, I'm not going to judge you on that, especially because most of us, we're Black or people of color. We're not coming from a place of just generational wealth. So I was like, okay, maybe it's me, because I know I'm not paying those student loans, didn't pay those student loans, and they already know it, because you'll eat when I can eat happily, like happily. Then you'll get some food. But if I'm not eating, you're not eating either. Okay. And that's just my opinion on student loans, because honestly, they feel predatory anyways. So I was just thinking, like, okay, maybe it's me.
Did she say the student loans feel predatory? Oh, man. What did she get her degree in? I'm just curious. I wonder if she actually using her degree, because it's like, I get where she's coming from with student loans. And sometimes I don't agree with people going into all of this debt for things that they're not able to actually make money with. But I don't know, if you were able to make some good money in your career, is it predatory then? She didn't say what her degree was in. Contrary to popular belief, it does matter, because a lot of these schools know that you're not going to be able to pay back your student loan debt with the degree you get, because of the job you're going to end up with in the end of the day. It's not going to generate enough money to pay back your student loans and for you to survive in this economy. But to be honest, depending on how old you were, most people were just sold the American dream, just go to school and everything's going to be fine no matter what degree you get. That's not true. That might have been able to work for certain generations before, but now you got to be very strategic. And I also think you had to be strategic back then, but now it's even worse.
So Marnie goes and she's like, hey, can you tell us why? And he was like, I can't really give you a lot of information. Basically, like, no, I can't really tell you why, but just one of you did not pass.
Who?
Like the requirements needed, like the credit and background. So I, again, I'm thinking it's me, and I'm like, oh my God, like I've worked really hard on my credit at this point from college. Like I thought I was doing good. So I'm sitting here beating myself up. And she's like, nah, let me call him. So she calls him and she's like getting information. And basically he's saying that it's not either of you. It's the third party, Henry. So Henry is not qualified to be on the lease.
What Henry done did? Oh, God. I had a feeling it was Henry, because this whole thing about Henry and his husband, first off, where's the husband at and why is he dependent on y'all? 2 other women. And he's a married man. What? Tell his husband to do it. This is too much.
And we were just like, why? Like, can you tell us why? And I remember, I can't remember if it was on the phone call with her or if I called him again, because I have to know, like, I need to understand the why to things. And he was just like, listen, I can't tell you why. I legally can't give you all the information because, like, obviously this is his confidential information and I can't be liable for sharing anything like that. But the one thing that I can tell you is this. I have been doing this for years. We also assume that this man just must be a man with a lot of money and guarantors, like is a guarantor to a lot of people, because it was always the same man answering the phone and he was always readily available. It just didn't make sense. Like, where are the other workers? But he's like, I've been doing this for a really long time. I have seen a lot of things, and I'm telling you right now, I personally would never live with a person like this. And this is not someone that I would recommend you move in with. And I remember just being like, what?
I'm scared. Did they do a background check on Mr. Henry? Because why is the guarantor trying to send you signals like, hey girl, like, run? And she's getting me with the laughing, y'all. Like,
are we being dramatic? And when I tell you, as the continuance of our stay, of him finally approving us, because we were like, we'll just make him an occupant, I guess, which he is still responsible because he is required to pay us. And all of the things that have transpired since then, the fact that he said, I would not recommend you living with someone like this, replays in my head every single day. Because if I had only just been like, you know what, bite the bullet, spend an extra $200, get a 2-bedroom, we would not be here today. But also, if he had just paid his rent, we would also not be here today. So I'm not going to blame myself, because there's a lot to the story that just continues to go, and we're going to get into that.
So you mean to tell me, after you got the warning that something was fishy with Mr. Henry, you moved in with Mr. Henry? This is just a plot twist. The guarantor told you, don't do it. Please don't do it. You did it anyway. Oh, and then you drinking an orange soda like it's nothing. Telling us this sad story. Where is part 2?
We decided, because we are sweet little empathetic girlies, that me and Marnie were going to allow Henry to get onto this lease with us, even though the guarantor warned against it. Again, rings into my head every single time. Y'all listen to people when they give you their opinion and they seem to have more knowledge than you do. Honestly, they're telling you for a reason. So we decided to like just ignore that, because again, we're thinking like, listen, we've all been there. We've all had like, you know, credit issues, whatever. Again, we're not from generational wealth. We don't have money like that. And it's just harder when you're Black and brown. So he ends up getting here before we do, because he had to start his job, paying his well-paying job before we got here. So because of the apartment as well, they were like, hey, we want to renovate your unit. We're in the middle of it. Look at the videos. Here's your renovated unit under construction. Turns out it was not under construction at all. So they pushed back our move-in date like 2 weeks, by 2 weeks, because they wanted to renovate it. Tell me why we move into a unit and it has mismatched doorknobs and nothing is done in there. Genuinely nothing is done in there, but whatever. You know, that's how they do. So January 14th, 2022 rolls around. Me and Marnie move in, and Henry comes a little bit later. Honestly, he was very helpful. He picked up all of our stuff. He did all, like, he was just being one of those like manly man that were going to help out and just like make the transition very easy. Like I said, no red flags signing off. He was a very seemingly considerate person.
How were there no red flags when the guarantor told you he would not rent to this guy? There had to be something. I want to know, did they do a background check, or did they ask Henry, hey, what is up?
So I'm building this just to like show you that people like show you who they seem to be, and then they will show you who they are. And that's like two different things. So moving was one of the biggest expenses I've ever had to do. Like I spent upwards $5,000-$6,000 just to move. And when I moved here, I was only making $1,200 every 2 weeks. So like really do that math, because out of the three of us, it's $3,600. $1,200 is my share. I was really sitting here with nothing. Okay. But every month, that shit was paid. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, everything was paid. It really did not matter. So imagine my surprise when I see this. Come August, I get an email that says, your property manager informed us you have an outstanding balance of $1,683. If you haven't paid, would you be able to make a payment today and forward me your payment confirmation? To make it super clear, I already knew I paid my rent. Like when this came in, I said, no, can't be me. So text Marnie, she had already texted me. She was like, did you get that email? And I said, yeah, what's going on? Like, did you pay? She was like, yeah, I paid. I was like, well, I paid too. Receipt. You already know who's left. So we reached out to him and we were just like, what is going on? Like, hey, did you pay or not? Because we're getting this email. And the one thing that we didn't want to do was like burn any bridges with a guarantor company. You never know when you'll need them again. And he was like, oh yeah, no, I didn't, but I'm going to. I think he had some reason. I think he was going to like reach out to his mom or something. And I remember just thinking in my head, like, make more than all of that. So
he makes more than all of them and he didn't pay his half of the rent? That's crazy. This is one of the reasons I'd be scared to have a room. Like, you got to really vet people out. And I really want to know, where is the husband in all this? Is he just living with these women and nope, nothing to see there, I guess. And I don't know if this is a thing, so y'all let me know down below. But is there any sort of website where you can go and see people's history if they were roommates? Like, I don't know, like where you could leave a bad review on somebody or just tell the world about them? Because this is crazy.
Okay, well, whenever you get it done, just send us the confirmation so we know, because we don't want them to think we're not trying to pay this. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, okay, cool. I got it. So something that I didn't pick up then immediately until like maybe a little bit after is I started doing the math. So I was like $1,600 and all this extra change. That doesn't even make sense. So me and Marnie got the ledger because we were like, let's just see, like, why is it looking like this? Because we just needed to know. When I tell you, this man was paying on his rent like it was a Hulu subscription. Like $99.99 here, $282 here, $20.42 there. Like it is a $1,200 tab. Pay it in chunks that we can track.
He was paying it like he was paying Netflix. They saying it like he was trying to make Klarna payments towards the rent. And at this point, shouldn't they be getting hit with some sort of interest charges? That's what I think most landlords would be doing at this point. And yeah, it's only $1,000, but the amount it ended up getting up to, man.
The math was fucking insane. Like literally, just end that shit in zeros. Why are you paying in cents too? It was too much. Like, we did talking about that too. You were like, honestly, if you can make it easier for the future to just like pay this in increments, that makes sense. Because not that we think it'll be a problem in the future, but something in us told him, like, we need you to like not do this because this is too confusing. It's hard to tell who owes what. Cause like sometimes we might pay in different amounts, but also it was just like, you just pay this, please. So eventually it got paid and we moved on from it. I do not have the copy of the next one because I feel like I'm going to call him Kyle. Kyle called us to be like, hey, this is happening again. Like, what's good? Do you guys need assistance? And like, that's when we were like, okay, this is starting to get embarrassing. Like, no, we don't need assistance. We're going to figure out what it was. And we went back through the ledger again. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, whoo. The level of insufficient funds, level of lack of paying. Like, let's just break this down. The first time that this happened, it was $1,600. Your rent is $1,200, which means that at some point you paid the full month rent, and then at some point you just let it slide, or you just didn't pay the full month before, and like you're just tacking on. Like, if you would just pay in normal increments, you can keep track of what you owe. But also, it's not that hard to keep track of what you owe. It's $1,200. Like 1208 is what it was. It should not be this difficult. And again, you make the most out of all of us. This shit was blowing my mind. And it was actually very fucking irritating. So I would definitely say those were like the first red flags that like, okay, we have to hound this man to pay his rent. Like, it was constantly like the anxiety we were getting. We were like constantly having to be like, hey, did you pay? Did you pay?
She said these are the first red flags. There are so many red flags that have went off here. And I'm trying to keep count. And she's talking about this is like one of the first. Ma'am, I'm convinced we're not watching the same. We're not experiencing this story the same way. Maybe I'm not hearing it correctly. I don't know. Henry has been a repeat offender, and she is just now saying that now they see something is up here. I feel bad for them. They didn't deserve this, but there are so many red flags in the story, and paying your rent like it's a subscription in 99-cent increments is nuts.
And like, if I wanted to be somebody's mother, I would have pushed somebody's big head out of me. Because like on that system, we could see that there were balances. So when we would log in, we would see there's a balance there and then be like, oh my God, can you please just pay this? At some point, it just got like so overwhelming. Because it was a constant like, oh my gosh, this man is just not paying it. So we had to constantly hound him. And again, no one signed up to be anyone's mother. You're the oldest and you make the most. Now, I just want to couple this with the fact that not only was he not paying rent, but he also started to get even more like irrational in the way that he would proceed in the house. So like, let's start here. If you're not even paying your rent on time, why do you have people that are coming here and staying for weeks at a time, living inside of the living room, buying groceries and acting like they reside here, but not?
So he moved people in, and he had them in there like they was running stuff, and he wasn't even paying his share. And he had strangers in y'all space. Nah, this is a roommate nightmare horror story.
The amount of times we would just walk in and there would just be like someone like literally staying there and no one was informed. Like, it's two girls in here, regardless of what anyone's orientation is. We like to walk around a certain way and like we can't because you just have people here and you don't tell us. And honestly, that escalated to a certain point where it was like, all right, bro, like this is getting out of hand. So there were a lot of red flags. Like there were a lot of things that went to show like, because I remember thinking to myself, something about this man is giving selfish. Something about this man is giving irresponsible. Something about this man is giving, I don't really know. If I like the person he is here, then the person he was in Charlotte. Because the person that he was in Charlotte is not the person that showed up here. Like the person in Charlotte seemed considerate, seemed reserved, seemed responsible. The person that came here seemed chaotic, seemed a little erratic, and seemed just very rowdy and always looking for the next good time, which a lot of people come to New York trying to live this life that they cannot keep up with. And this is why people crash the fuck out.
Now, I'm only going off of her side of the story. And it sounds like in this story, there's multiple sides that you can hear from. But from how she's saying it, it sounds like he was putting on a facade just to get in there. And then when he got in there, he could be himself, which a lot of people do that. You'll think, nah, let me just help so-and-so out. He's a good guy or she's a good person. No, they wouldn't do me dirty. As soon as they get your trust, they start showing you who they really were. And it's really sad. Oh, I got to see part 3.
Most people do not realize that this story is still in development. I am actively going through this right now. Understand the trauma that you go through when you have people coming to your door constantly bringing bad news. When I say, and when people knock now, I'm just like, oh my God, what could it be? Because the last time somebody came and knocked on my door and it completely rocked my world was in January 2024 when somebody came and knocked at like, I want to say it was like 8 o'clock at night. While me and my friends were sitting on a beanbag, having cute little session, recapping the night, he hands me a pack of papers, says, this is for you, walks off.
She got served. That's what that was.
Around lift up the top sheet to see what's it about, and it's bright yellow. I kid you not, my friend, the Leo of the group, from across the way said, is that eviction papers? And by golly, it fucking was. The level of ill I had in my body, because one, what is this about? Two, why? And three, I have literally 3 people sitting in front of me right now. So I look over it and it's saying like, you owe $11,000 in rent. You are currently being asked to leave. Now, let me start by saying at this point in January of 2024, our old roommate had left. Okay. They left, they moved on. So the rent, because, and this is why I say it's not just a Henry issue, it is also a property issue. I had fought tooth and nail to get a renewal sent to me. They kept sending me the wrong renewal with the wrong names over and over and over and over again, 7 times. So this man was able to sit here and write around on my name, not being held like to anything for them. But he was held to something for me.
I thought he wasn't going to get approved anyway because they seen things in his record that they didn't like. So if the other roommate left, then wouldn't this mean that everything would have fell on her financially anyway? What is going on?
So clearly we all know this man is living here. Like this is not a new thing. He pays on his own. He pays directly to them. He does not pay to me. Like everyone knows this man is here. But I wanted it to be he is renewed on a lease with his name and bound to not only me, but to y'all in a more legal way. So because they kept playing around with that, wanting to increase my rent $700, having to go back and forth with them on the fact that that's literally illegal. What do you think this is? Because our rent was $3,600. They wanted us to start paying $4,300. And I was like, no. And they told us in under 30 days. They didn't even give us 30 days for the increase, which we understand gentrification is real. East Harlem is being gentrified. Harlem is being gentrified. People want to see all of us gone out of Harlem, but like that's just not the reality of the world. Harlem is predominantly Black. It is historically Black. It is literally a cultural history to Harlem that is Black. So you're not kicking anybody out, but whatever. They are actively trying. So when they sent me a $700 rate increase, I said absolutely not. And I fought tooth and nail because before my other roommate left, she's like, if you can keep it under here, then I'll stay. But then even though I did that, that still didn't happen. So I was like, okay, well, it's fine. I'll bite the bullet. It's last minute, really, but it's fine. We can either figure something out and get someone else in here, or I'll just pay it. Like, I'll just pay the difference.
I'm not sure if anybody knew about this story, if they ever even came across the TikTok, if they ever even heard the type of stuff that them 3 was into, that they would want any parts. I know I wouldn't want no parts. I'm not coming in to be no 3rd, no 4th, or no 5th to try to help nobody in this situation. This is just too sticky for me.
So $1,800 was the new rate, okay? Because there's only 2 of us now. So $1,800 is what should have been paid for that July month because we never got the new renewal. And that was supposed to be $4,000 after negotiating. $1,800 is what it is. Now,
so she went into this with Henry again. No way. No way.
To me trying to be a nice, good tenant, I was like, you know what? We did promise the $4,000 and he also knew that. So it's $2,000. We're just going to pay $2,000 until we get the renewal. So at least like there's nothing to say like we haven't paid it, right? Okay, so I'm paying $2,000 and then this is like 4 months in and I still haven't gotten a new renewal. I haven't heard from anyone. Apparently people are getting fired in the leasing office. I don't know what's going on. So I go back to paying $1,800 because that's what's being billed to me every month is the $3,600. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is a little tight. Not really. Like I can still pay it. It's just not what I was expecting. Like I was cool with the $1,400, but I mean, $1,800 I can make it happen. $2,000 I made it happen.
Okay.
You know who wasn't making anything happen?
Henry.
You already know. You already know.
Why did she go into it again with Henry, knowing how he was? You know his track record. Now, it's different if you had no clue, but it's almost like she was fighting to keep Henry in the mix. Ma'am, let him go. Like, where is his husband at? It's stressing me out. All of these signs available, and nobody's taking them. The one girl, she done dipped out. Clearly, she ain't getting jiggy with what y'all got going on no more. She said, I'm about to bounce. But she still stayed around for the foolishness. I don't understand why. Henry done already showed you who he was. He already did you dirty, and you're still there? Why?
Oh, Henry, when I look at it, he had not been paying since before the original 3 of us were here. So when Marnie was still here, he was still not actively paying. Now,
But you knew that already, right?
time that she had left, before on the portal, you could see a balance. They ended up changing the portal like system. So I couldn't see like really anything going on until the balance was showing up as you owe this. Now, all of a sudden, I can see there's a balance sitting here on our account, because usually we could track it and be like, oh, this man is not paying. We have a balance here, without the guarantor being there because he dropped off since we didn't need him anymore. Without me being able to see the balance, he was able to ride around scot-free with a well-paying job, not paying his rents for 6 months.
You had all of the signs. Everybody dipped out. They didn't want no parts of it. You still went forward with Mr. Henry after all he did. And you expected him to be a better man than he was when he already showed you who he was. And she's mad at Henry for being who he was. I'm sorry, but there has to be a level of personal accountability for accepting this. She already knew. Now, a few times, it's a mistake. Like, okay, we get it. You trying to, give him the benefit of the doubt, ma'am.
And because the leasing office and everybody just does not seem to care, nobody notified, nobody said anything, nobody probably even caught it, because no one even saw we were sitting here with no renewal for months until like 6 months in. So at this point, he's racked up $11,000. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
You co-signed.
So I reached out to Marnie, let her know what the fuck's going on. Because I was like, I don't actually trust him to tell you, because the way he's been rolling around here, literally ordering GoPuff, eating out all the time, buying bottles, going out with friends, never being home, smoking every day. Smoking every day is a very high cost lifestyle, okay? You can't afford to smoke every day if you're broke.
Why is he smoking See, it's already telling me too much. So not only is he not helping y'all with the bills, he's smoking, eating out. What is this?
Money. So this man, literally the amount of times, like, he never even ate in the house. Like, the fact that he never ate in, there were never groceries in this house, goes to show you're rolling in something. You have money. And again, he made more than all of us. So the fact that he wasn't paying was astounding to not only me, but I'm assuming the other roommate as well, because we had already discussed, you make more than us. Why is it so difficult?
See, they're too worried about the fact that he makes money. Y'all aren't looking at the character of this person. You're too blinded by what money he makes and what he brings in. And I think this is part of the problem here. And I think a lot of people do this. They're like, oh, you make good money. That doesn't mean that you're a person with morals. It doesn't mean that you're a person that's responsible. It doesn't mean that you're a person that really cares about other people. Do you know how many people I see on the internet that get on the internet every day acting like they're broke, putting up all these sob stories, GoFundMes, blah, 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 making more money than the people they're asking for money. But guess what? Still gonna ask. You wanna know why? Because that's just how they are. They like to take from people. Some people do like to take from y'all. Do y'all understand that there are people in the world, no matter how much money they got, they will take your last dollar. And I don't know why people don't understand that. It's about the character of people. But it seems like in this story, she keeps talking about all of this. Oh, we're black. And I understand where she may be coming from with a lot of these things. But I feel like you can't be so blinded by the fact that someone is similar to how you look or where you grew up, whatever the case may be, that you can't see them for who they are. And this is why I think it's important to look at people for their character, not just, oh, they're black. Like, come on, just think about it like this. If you put Mr. Henry in another body, he could be any other race. Would you still allow him to do all this, or would you see it for what it is? If he was a woman, would you see it for what it is? If he was a woman that didn't look like you, would you see it for what it is? The point is, it's about the character of people, not what they look like. You got to judge people for who they really are. There are people with bad morals who look similar to you and who don't look similar to you. I don't understand why she just can't see her for what it is. It's almost like she's blinded right now.
We confronted, like, at first I was just like, what is this? Like, what do you have going on? Why is it not paid? What's happening? You are still working. Now, I will say this. Between the time from when she left to when I got this, he did end up leaving his job, but that was literally a week before we got this notice. So he was still getting checks and was still going to get more checks going forward. So it should have been paid. And I actually have the timestamp because I didn't go. My friend started doing some snooping because, again, this story is still in development. So went screenshot things off his socials to make sure that we had the timestamps of when you stopped making money and when you had it and just were not paying. So we talked about it. briefly, like in a group chat, we put it all together. And I just want to show you literally what he said prior to us even meeting. Like, because we met in person to talk about what you need to plan for to go to this court date. But before we even met, this is literally what he said to us. So I screenshot this from my laptop computer because it went further back than my phone does. But he sent this January 25th, 2024. Hey, sorry, I'm responding all late. So we can chat on Monday if y'all would like. I have a court date for Tuesday, 1:30 at 2 p.m. The rundown is that the only thing owed is my portion of time post Marnie. The full balance is my responsibility. I'm paying the full portion of whatever amount is listed on the ledger, like $11K or $12K. I really don't know off the top of my head. Something you should know off the top of your head, to be honest. I don't need any backup from anyone for court. That was our biggest mistake. Since I'm accepting the responsibility of paying, I just have to attend court and they give me 14 days to make restitutions. It won't take 14 days to pay it. I just need to coordinate with the management office about payment. There is nothing to coordinate. He had access to a portal. You just need to pay it. Just pay your bills. I can't avoid going to court, and me going is also not a final judgment. It's just part of the process. Once the bill is paid in full, we will all get confirmation that it's been paid. Never happened. Maya and I will then need to discuss and work on securing a new lease once and for all. Again, no supporting documents are needed. Of course, we can still discuss in person, whatever is helpful and necessary. I'm making time for it so I can be flexible as hell. Whether it matters or not, just to say I said it, just to say I said it, because I don't actually mean it. I apologize again for the craziness of it all. Totally dropped the ball on this and implicated y'all in it. And I'm sorry. It truly is being dealt with. I'm embarrassed enough for causing embarrassment and frustration to anyone else. And once again, once it's paid soon, then we will all get confirmation. The whole case is then fully dismissed and no one has any type of record or anything. Sorry for the freaking novel. This was just freshly on my mind. That was January at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. So tell me, how did we get from 11,000 to 31,000?
So they really believed him when he said, y'all don't need to show up for the court case, and that he had it under control and there was nothing to worry about, and that he was taking full responsibility. Ma'am, you didn't go to court to make sure. What is this? So they didn't go because they're like, oh, it's his debt. Y'all are on that lease together. I need y'all to understand, when you are signed, co-sign on anything, you are also responsible. So if he's behind, you're behind. Like, where is the confusion? If he don't go to court and you don't go to court because it's attached to your name, you're going to face the repercussions too. It's not just, don't worry about it, I'm going to go to court. Trusting somebody who keeps showing you time and time again that they're going to do you dirty and allowing them to do you dirty is insanity, isn't it?
You let me know.
So a lot of people keep asking, like, can I get an update? Can I get an update? I mean, the update is that nothing's working out. Nothing's working out. And it's so annoying because the two people responsible for putting me in this situation are getting away with everything freaking scot-free. This property that never sent me a notice that my roommate wasn't paying. People keep asking, how did it get to $34,000? How did you let it get this far? I didn't let it get anywhere. They never told me. They never even notified me. And this man who just decided to not pay. I just really want to sit here and say, like, the fact that you can knowingly put someone's housing in jeopardy, you're not a nice person. Like, you're not a nice person. And for the fact that it to be a man, a black man, like, I am a black woman.
Girl, the character of whoever you talking about is what it was. All of this, he was black, I'm black, solidarity. I hate that she's going through this, but I don't understand how at this point she can't just see the person for who the person is. I don't care if he was orange. I don't care if he was purple. The character is speaking. And no, she don't deserve this, but this whole being shocked because he was black and you're black is kind of crazy. You know they can do you wrong too, right?
And to be there with another black woman, because it was all three of us. And for it to be, you have other men standing next to you, watching as you sit here and deflect from the fact that you put my housing at risk and put another black woman in debt because you just didn't want to pay, and all of them saying like, oh, well, what do you expect to get out of the situation? The bro code situation, I'm tired of bro codes. I'm tired of this because if my friends ever did something like this is a big situation. If my friends ever did that, like, I would tell them, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that to a person? But no, bro code doesn't work that way. Bro code doesn't work that way, especially if it's towards a woman. No, it's fine. You can absolutely ruin a person's life, their housing, their standing. And it's fine because we're bros. That's literally what I got from this conversation, is that. And like, apparently his friends are going around saying it's not what it seems. Tell me what it seems like then. Did your friend pay the rent or not? I don't know a single person who's going to go around and say, you don't need to pay rent while everyone else is paying. Every day I woke up, I went to work. If I lost work, because I do freelancing. I'm a freelancer. I'm a small artist. I do things so that I can get by. And the fact that this person who was making more than me, who had more connections than me, who had the ability to pay but chose to just not pay. It's the fact that you chose to not pay. There was no hardship. There was nothing. And even if I had hardship, everyone in this apartment while they were living here had hardship. The two of us, when we first moved here, we're still bouncing between contracts. Me and my other roommate before she moved out. And he had money. He lives a life of luxury, but you don't pay your rent. That's crazy. So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, great. I applied for jobs. I made it to the second round of my interview. I got an email saying they didn't want me anymore. So now, yeah, I'm crying because that was like my last Hail Mary to try and find money, because at this point, I have enough for myself to sustain me not having a contract. I had enough for myself. I don't have enough to take on an entire unit by myself or even a 1-bedroom by myself or any of those things. Like, this is the update. The update is that he is a terrible person. There is no defamation in this because he didn't pay his rent. He should have paid his rent. I have all of the texts where he said, I would be paying. He didn't pay it. So he's now in a POC housing community group looking for the next person, I'm sure, to get his name under so that he doesn't have a credit check, so that he doesn't have any of those things. If you see him, literally, I'm saying this because I could not imagine another person going through this, especially another Black person, because we naturally want to help each other. And that's how he got me. Yeah, okay, Maya's dumb. Oh no. Whatever. I was trying to help a friend who honestly was not a friend, clearly. This is where I'm at. And I do not want the next person to be on TikTok crying because they got conned by him too. Oh my God.
I mean, there ain't much else to say. She admitted that, yes, she was trying to do it because he was a Black man or whatever the case may be. And I hate that she's going through this because of the solidarity she was trying to keep within the community. But regardless of why she did it, she didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves to be conned and left $34,000 in debt and having a quite literally horrible horror story about their roommate. And now she's trying to get a job to where she can even pay enough money to survive on her own, because it looks like she's struggling now. And they had to get a co-signer in the first place. So now she's probably in a worse financial situation.
So that is the update. I mean, I could be way happier if someone had just paid their rent. But I mean, for the overall outcome, could have been worse. And this is honestly the best outcome it could be. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all the people who said, you're so dumb, being a good person over here trying to be so kind, trying to help somebody. I am not going to allow other people and their weird behavior change who I am at a core. I can't help that I like to help people. I cannot help that. Am I going to be smarter about it? Yes. Is that sad that people have to now like restrict their kindness? Because at some point you're going to need a kind person. And guess what? Everybody's been burned. And now you got to
look. There is nothing wrong with being a kind person, but you have to use the information you have available. You have to see the warning signs. I'm a kind person. That doesn't mean I'm gonna let people run over me. Being kind does not mean letting people run you over or take advantage of you. That's the misconception that the world would like people to think, is that kind people just let anything go. It's not true. But nonetheless, I am glad to see that there is a turnaround for this story, because it was not looking good. And it says here, proof karma is real. The universe made $400,000 of debt literally disappear out my name. Now I want to know what happened.
This is why we don't have community. Like, this is exactly why we don't have it. But whatever. I like being able to help people. This is why I'm in advocacy work. Anyone who is marginalized in some way, obviously I'm a Black woman and I'm a fat Black woman. There's a lot of intersectionalities here. Advocacy is just who I am. I can't help it. I love being of service to others. I love trying to help. Should I have to worry if someone's going to fuck me over because of that? No.
That's not the world we live in, though. Should you have to worry if anybody is going to mess you over? Nobody wants, like, hypothetically, we all want to be able to do good in the world and hope that nobody's going to do us dirty. But if you're given signs, and most importantly, if you're asking God and talking to Jesus and asking and praying for discernment, and some people's discernment is very strong, it'll help you out a lot of these situations. But that's just my thoughts on that.
And to condone that behavior, that's weird on you too. For all them people in the comments, I'm talking to you. But anyway,
it's not weird. It's life.
So the update is that this man thought he was going to really try me. And I'm a spiritual girly. God, spirit, the universe conspired and said, no,
That's not on you. So I have to be out by the 31st from my beloved apartment with this beautiful lighting, and they will wipe everything clean.
Wow.
That's it. So the housing court issue is done. It is closed. It is finalized. I have to turn in keys on the 31st. This is why kindness does work out. You see how all the things that I went through, it's been a year, this BS with this man, but guess who doesn't have to deal with it? Because karma is real. Kindness will always prevail. Don't stop being a kind person because other people are assholes. Be more strategic. I'm gonna tell you something. They'll never get me like that again. He will never give me. Fool me once, fool me twice. Anyways, love you guys.
Goodness gracious, that was a roller coaster. I'm glad she was able to turn things around, even though, like, what just happened? Yes, I agree with her. Nothing wrong with being a kind person. Nothing wrong with being smart and kind and seeing all signs when they're available too. I know people out there like to say, we listen, but we don't judge. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about, like, when it comes to other people that you're trying to assess. When you're trying to assess a roommate and things that are going to affect your livelihood, y'all need to judge. Y'all do need to think about character. If somebody is telling you, hey, that's probably not a good idea, probably don't move in with them. Pull the criminal history. I don't know, like whatever y'all got to do in order to make the best decision you can for your future. Do it. No shame. But y'all, let me know what you think about this whole story down below. But we have to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.